Have you ever stood in a city so ancient it feels like the very stones are whispering secrets? The history books left out. That's the feeling you get in Istanbul, the city once known as Constantinople. Many independent historians, architects, and researchers have this nagging feeling that the official timeline just doesn't quite add up. It is a place where what we read told and what we can see seem to be two different stories. So, let's dig into this, separating solid archaeology from the fascinating theories that try to fill in the gaps. First, let's talk about the impossible scale of old Istanbul. Beneath the modern city, especially under landmarks like the Hagia Sophia and the Basilica Cistern, lies a massive, pre-existing urban layer. Archaeologists have found over 2 million square feet of mosaic floors hidden beneath today's buildings. There are multi-level cisterns and catacombs that look much older than the Byzantine structures built on top of them. Even more puzzling is the stonework. We see massive granite and porphyry columns, some brought all the way from Egypt, crafted with a precision that seems beyond what Roman or early Byzantine engineers were capable of. This has sparked a real scholarly debate. Did emperors like Constantine and Justinian build all this from scratch, or were they simply repurposing something far older? This brings us to a common pattern in ancient empires: the difference between rebuilding and reusing. When Constantinople became the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire around 330 CE, it was standard practice for the Romans to build on top of earlier foundations. Take the Hagia Sophia itself. It was rebuilt 3 times, and each new version either covered up or reused parts of the one before it. Roman engineers were masters of refacing old walls and temples, giving them a fresh look, a kind of historical whitewashing. Even Byzantine texts mention restorations that sound more like they were reoccupying existing ruins rather than starting from zero. So, when official records say something was constructed, it might actually mean it was a grand rebranding of a much older complex. Then there's the timeline problem. According to standard history, the builders of the 4th to 6th centuries managed to erect dozens of monumental cathedrals, palaces, aqueducts, and city walls in just a few decades. But if you think about the logistics, the sheer manpower, the tools available, the transport of materials, that pace seems almost impossible, even for the mighty Byzantine Empire. This is why some modern engineers describe the timeline as compressed. It feels like the only way it could work is if they weren't building from the ground up, but instead, we're reoccupying and restoring existing megastructures. And that leads us underground to the hidden city beneath Istanbul. Explorers have discovered over 500 cisterns so far, part of a sprawling network of tunnels, vaults, and catacombs that can rival those under Rome or Paris. Many of these subterranean structures are sealed or submerged, with no recorded construction date. But here's the fascinating part: they show signs of ancient seismic repairs, meaning they were already old and had survived earthquakes before the Byzantines even arrived. Turkish archaeologists themselves admit they've only mapped a tiny fraction of this underground world. What else is down there, waiting to be rediscovered? So why does this part of history feel so patched together? For one, records from the city's time as Byzantium, before it became Constantinople, are incredibly scarce. Repeated, massive rebuilding efforts, often after devastating earthquakes, literally buried the older layers of the city. Later empires, like the Ottomans and the modern Turkish Republic, often focused on preserving the visible, surface-level monuments for political or religious reasons, rather than digging deep into what lies beneath. The result is a simplified official story, but the evidence on the ground and under it points to a continuous line of occupation and engineering that stretches back far longer than 1,700 years. This is where alternative theories, like the Torterian hypothesis, come into play. Researchers in this camp suggest that Constantinople wasn't built from scratch but was inherited. They see it as a major power hub in an ancient, advanced global civilization. The rebuilding by successive empires was simply a rebranding. They point to the sophisticated architecture, the domes, the intricate mosaics, the use of stones with magnetic properties as evidence of lost technologies, perhaps related to energy or resonance. While this is not accepted by mainstream archaeology, you can see why these ideas resonate. The physical evidence just seems so much older and more advanced than its supposed builders could have created in the time they were given. So, you have massive underground complexes that conventional history calls Roman cisterns, but alternative views see as remnants of an older civilization. You have vast mosaic floors described as palace decorations, which could just as easily be a facade over a much older system. The rapid rebuilding is hailed as a miracle of Roman engineering, but could it be a restoration of a pre-existing city? And the layers of foundations? They could show continuous habitation, or they could be evidence of multiple cataclysmic resets. The story of Istanbul is far from settled, and the more we uncover, the more questions we have. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the mysteries of Istanbul. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe for more.